Hey, business building warrior, got a great update episode for you today. What I mean by update, well, this is someone we interviewed over a year ago, and he was doing really well back then, starting to get some momentum as a proven Amazon course student. He was hitting regularly $30,000 to $40,000 months, and his business was going well. It became his primary income, actually. He's also a college professor, but the two blend together beautifully. It's created a very flexible lifestyle for him. Well, we jumped forward about a year and a half or so, and he's doubled his business approximately, heading towards six-figure months is his goal for 2025, and he's on the cusp of doing it. This is just a very matter-of-fact, very much revealing how straightforward this business can be. He's using the system. That's 3P Mercury. If you're not familiar with what that software is, what it does, get over to silentjimdotcom/the system. He talks how he's how he's integrated that into his business to completely manage the workflow of his business, where he's selling multiple products and he's keeping track of multiple listings on Amazon, all his ASINs. But the system tells him when it's time to go buy more, when it's time to back off of different ASINs. And he's really built a machine, as you'll hear him describe today, that's running super smooth. He's got a virtual assistant that helps him with finding new ASINs, new test-worthy products to sell against. He's got a prep center now that he's using. He was doing his own prep last time we had him on the show. He putting stuff in boxes, putting tape on boxes, slapping labels on it. Well, now he's paying a prep center to do that for him. He's running at great margins. It's a beautiful business, and I think you're going to love how he describes it. Gives some very specific, detailed tips. He's using a lot of the above buy box strategy, too, that you hear us talk about all the time around here. I'll stick a link in the show notes to some of the things that we referenced, such as that above buy box training, which there's a module in the Proven Amazon course on this concept as well. Or you can go to silentjim.com/BB70, as in buy box. A completely free post where I give 200 examples of above buy box ASINs, what they look like, how you can take advantage of it. So I think you'll enjoy that part of our conversation today as well, where we talk about how simple that strategy can be. And he says, about 7 out of 10 times when he tries it, he gets sales well above buy box, well priced higher than the other sellers on the same product, and he's getting consistent sales. We talk through why that is, how that works. Something he told me offline, he's getting into Amazon to Amazon flips. We didn't capture that part of our conversation in the recording, but we've got some great content and training coming to the Proven Amazon course soon for our students. If you weren't aware, the Proven Amazon course gets better in many ways every month. We purge out the old, we update anything that needs updated, any new content is flowing in. So you're on the cutting edge of the latest sourcing and business management strategies that help you scale, with the goal being you're building an asset that can be sold someday. You're building a business that can be valuated, sold, handed off, transferred to someone else. It is a real business, reselling everyday common items that are easily sourced, but you learn how to fill the underserved shelf space at Amazon's hundreds of US warehouses, an exploding business model. We'd love to include you in the ranks of our successful students. If you enjoyed today's episode, I've got really good news for you. We've got dozens of recent episodes with guests, with students from the Proven Amazon course who are succeeding building beautiful businesses. You can do this as well. You need the motivation and commitment to do it. You need the proper instruction, which is what the course does. You need community that you can lean on, rely on, ask questions of. That part's free. Go to silentjim.com, get into our Facebook group. You'll see for yourself people helping each other out all day, every day, along with 2,500 plus posts of success stories from people who are doing this business in the most expansive economic sector in our economy. That's pretty cool. E-commerce is exploding faster than anything in the largest playground inside of that sector. And I'm talking about Amazon. It's a big, fun playground with lots of room for more people to come do the business we're doing. Hey, one last thing. We talk a little bit about our conference coming up towards the end of the episode today. James will be there, our guest today. He will be there with us. His name's James Kiernan, along with hundreds of other listeners to this show. We had about 850 of us there last year. Plan to be with us. The website for the conference details is 3 words. Ready? theprovenconference.com, theprovenconference.com. Get your tickets, get registered. We've got incredible hotel rates for us, very family-friendly venues. Come a few days early, stay a few days late. Many, many people will be doing just that. They do every year. It's going to blow you away what this community is like when we gather. It's like moving your business forward 6 to 9 months in 2 or 3 days. That's what this conference is going to be like. It has been every year. The longest running Amazon seller conference in the industry. Come be a part of it. Hey, let's get over and have a great conversation with James, a very practical, very motivational, encouraging episode. If you're considering getting into this business, this episode is probably going to push you over the edge that you really need to be considering building a beautiful business online. We'd love to help you do just that. Let's get James on the line for an update right now. So James, welcome back. Good to see you again, man.
Yeah, thank you. Good to see you too.
I'm looking forward to, I love these episodes where we kind of revisit people who are guests, like, 6 months, a year plus ago. How's it going? What's been going on? So let's get into it, man.
Yeah, so I'll just do a brief recap of last time a little bit, just where I was. But I've been selling Amazon for over 10 years now, and full time for about 7 years or so, or somewhere around there. And last time we talked, I had reached up to about 40,000 in sales per month. Now the problem was, I was a little bit too concentrated in a few ASINs though. So about half of those sales, 20,000 of that was just one brand. And so when that brand went away, it didn't really hurt the business, So I do recommend people be diversified, which I'm a bit more diversified now. So after that, that problem hit me. And then there's another problem that came pretty soon after that. I just was noticing that a lot of the products I had the price was dropping a lot on almost everything I was getting. So I've been using a VA for about 2 years now. And so I had a VA that was giving me leads, and I would just make sure that they looked fine, so I would just buy them, And so that did hurt me though, because a lot of other people found these as well, apparently. And so the price, went to the bottom, and so that was really hurting my cash flow. And so what I decided to do was a couple of things. One, I put something in place where I would wait at least 2 weeks after my VA gives me a lead before I would actually go and purchase it. So assuming it's not on sale, it's a normal price replen, it's a full price something like that. And that really helped. So that's been my rule for the last year and a half or so. And that's really, really served me. And I barely have anything now that, I have a tanking price on that I lose a bunch of money on, Then I also implemented I don't know if you heard of the book, Profit First. There's a book out there talks about kind of like a cash flow management and how to take profit first from your business. And so I was like, well, that's going to help focus me. So I'm only buying the highest quality products, right? If you limit yourself to how much you spend, well, you're only going to use that money on the best things you can, And so that's what I was doing for 5 or 6 months. Now, the only problem with that system, though, is depending on where you are, you may not be able to grow. Okay. So I had to profit first for, my expenses, what I need to live per month, which, I forget what I wanted my profit at that time. Maybe it was 3,000 or 4,000 a month or something, I said. But if you don't have enough inventory already there and you're taking 3,000 or 4,000 profit out every month, well, you don't have any money left over to increase your inventory. Okay. And so after a few months of that, and I was heading into a problem where I was like a week or 2 weeks before the end of the month, I already spent like my budget. And I was like, well, that's not good, but okay, I'm doing this profit first system, And so then one day I decided, I need to grow, so I'm going to put myself on a spend goal, So if you want to grow your business, of course, you got to spend more in a retail business here. You spend more to make more kind of thing, as long as you're spending it on the right kind of items.
Right.
So what I did, I was like, okay, I think I was spending maybe 10,000 a month or something like that, at the time. So I was like, okay, I'm going to increase that. I'm going to do 15,000 a month. And so I did that for a month or so. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to 20,000 a month. And that, in a general rule, whatever you buy, your sales are going to be around double that, or at least double, depending on what you're buying, your categories and all that. but I found about double for me, So if I spend 20,000, I'm going to have 40,000 in sales or so. And so I did that. And so then after I started doing that, I noticed my sales growing over time. I get the orange bar thing, going up on the Amazon app there. And so I was increasing steadily, not going crazy. But by this last December, I reached about 37,000 spend per month, right? So that's good. And then I reached this December 90K in sales. That December in 2024. In November it was about 70,000 in sales. And then this January, to prove it wasn't just Q4, had a little over 70,000 in sales.
Nice.
And so, and about a 15% margin or so. So it's because I do have a VA, and also something new since last time I was on, I also got a prep center. I was really tired of shipping boxes,
Yeah, you're paying someone else. So you took a little hit on your net margins, but you've got a much smoother running machine now.
Oh yeah, and you can spend. You got to think of what's your highest, per dollar activity, and for me, it's sourcing. So
right.
If I can hire someone else, to do all that prepping, which takes a significant amount of time once you reach a lot. I was sending a box every day or so, and so it's like 4 hours a day or what, depending on, what you're doing. And so like, well, if I was spending that time sourcing, it would pay for the prep center, no problem, Plus the prep center I'm using is in a tax-free state. So anything over $20 basically is free prep, since the tax on that would have been above that anyway, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that really helped me scale. I
Just
think.
as a little disclaimer, I always like to point out, you can, in most cases, recover the taxes that you spend on sales tax as a
Depends
business.
on your state.
But you don't have to mess with it.
Yeah.
Hey, send it to a tax-free state. I don't have to mess with recovering my sales taxes and get reimbursed from the state or whatever. Yeah,
right.
Beautiful. And you can easily justify it that way. Yeah, sounds like you've really scaled. Now, help me connect a couple dots here, James, because you said you were doing profit first, and then you said it didn't leave you a lot of money to go deeper, but then you started spending more money.
Yeah. So
was that borrowed money, or did you stop taking as much profit?
That was capital I had.
Okay, that was
already. That was
adding
like
money to the business from
I was adding money to it. Yeah,
from your personal bank account.
Yes.
You got a little bolder, like, hey, this is working. I'm going to juice it a little bit. Basically.
Yes.
Okay, exactly. I'm with you. Right.
Because this is my full-time gig. I do teach. have a part-time teaching job at a college here,
right?
But doesn't pay the bills. It's just part-time. So I'm like, I need to live off this money, so I need to grow it to an amount where I can do profit first every month, live off of that, and still have enough left over to pour back into the business.
Yes.
And so that's where I'm at now.
Makes sense. To do that. Man, that's phenomenal. And do I remember right? Does who else? Is it just you and your VA? Didn't you say your wife was helping you too, or?
My wife, she helps me with prepping when I was doing a lot of prepping here, and I do a little bit of merchant fulfilled for returns and things like that.
There's still a little bit of that to do.
Yeah, there's a little bit. I do really want to get rid of the returns. Are starting to get ridiculous now, because when you sell a lot, you just get more returns. So
yeah, have you looked into any of this like Backtrack or any of the other services? Flip it for you on eBay. Have you looked at anything like that yet?
I have not seriously looked at them. I heard about them, but I have not looked. But I'm thinking about looking into them because
a couple links for you. I mean, it's not a magic button, but it takes it off of your shoulders, and you get something back, and you don't have to worry about it. So let's see. There's two links: silentjimdotcom/returns takes you to one of them, and then silentjim.com/backtrack. BACKTRACK, I believe. But I'll stick it in the show notes for everyone who's listening. But yeah, a couple different services, a couple different options where you just set your return address instead of being your front porch. You send it to them, and they do the best to flip it on eBay and charge you the fees to do so, of course. But a good way to get it off your desk. Since we're automated. But,
I mean, sometimes it's nice to get the stuff like, well, we'll use it, depending on what it is,
Oh, sure.
Might be some tea or some shoes or something,
We've discovered a lot of new products that we like, just kind of walking through the warehouse. Was like, that's kind of cool. Yeah, I think I'm going to grab one of those.
Yeah.
The returns pile. Yeah. It ends up in a yard sale eventually anyway, probably most of it. But yeah, that's brilliant. Well, what lessons are you learning as you've done this? You say it's your full-time income, but it's not your full-time gig. You're a teacher small school near you, college.
Yeah.
What lessons are you learning kind of blending all this together? What's the reality of your routine?
Yeah. So, I mean, some lessons learned is you sometimes you got to take a step to, and even though it may be scary, to take that next step. Like when I hired a VA, I was scared, because it was a investment. It's you're
Yeah.
spending a lot of money training them and then paying them per month. You're not really sure it's going to work out or not. You just don't know. So that was a scary step, but she's helped grow my business. And since I started using 3P Mercury, I can actually track how much she's growing my business. Otherwise
Right.
I was just kind of like, I think she's making me money. So
Right.
tracking those numbers has really helped.
You know your metrics. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, before we get into talking about 3P Mercury, we call it the system around here, as you well know, but for the
Yeah.
listener's sake, I'll tell you more about that here in just a second. But you mentioned taking scary risks. Our coaching director told me this a few years back, and I love that the entrepreneur, the word entrepreneur in French, do you happen to know the root meaning behind it? You ever heard?
No.
It's one who takes risks.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And when you think about it, I mean, that's what we are. That's why I'm such a fan of business owners and people who are building, because you're basically saying, I'm going to take some of my capital, some of my time, some of my resources. I'm going to delay my own gratification. I'm not going to eat a bowl of ice cream or go to a movie with this money, which would what I really want to do right now. But instead, I'm going to delay my own gratification, put it at risk, and try to turn it into more money while serving others well. Like that's a pretty incredible process. Delayed gratification and the discipline
Mhm.
required, right, to be other focused and to serve well, like all those things that go into that risk that entrepreneurs have to take. That's why I
Yeah.
love entrepreneurs are such great people. Anyone who's trying to turn a little bit into more while serving others with excellence, man, that's the journey, right? So I love that about you said risk. Yeah,
Yeah.
business, anything worth having in life is risk, though, right? Including a profitable business, but you're proving it out. And yeah, that's great. You've got a great track record as well. So let's talk a little bit about the 3P Mercury.
Sure. Sure.
Fill me in how long you've been using it, what it's like. And for those who don't know what we're talking about, go to silentjimdotcom/the system to see it. We've got about 300 users as I'm recording this today,
Yeah.
adding very rapidly to our user base. But just talk me through what observations do you have? What are you thinking so far?
Yeah. So I started using this in late December is when I first started it.
Okay.
And get it set up. I had to, transfer in all my inventory, my costs, my sources, all that, links and all this thing. So, but once I got that set up, it's been really working really well. Now that I got that process in place and using it, I really like where you can just right from an Amazon page, add it to your bio list, like doesn't take any, it's like lower barrier to adding things, click, 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 done in my bio list. And then what I usually do, I filter by, all right, what do I need to order within the next 30 days? Because I got lead time, sending prep center sending it to Amazon, all this stuff. And then I just go through, buy it, it just really helps have this as a list really of every day, like, hey, here's stuff you need to buy, and you buy it. Then whatever my VA gives me, I'll either buy it, I'll add it to the buy list, check on it later. Every couple of days I'll go through the buy list and see, okay, maybe there's something that wasn't profitable before, that's profitable now. So it just, you really need, if you're going to scale, you have to have something like that, some kind of replen tracker, buy list tracker. So I'll add leads there that even if it's 0% ROI, I'll add it there. That way, if, some couple weeks from now, a month from now, a coupon comes up for 30% off, hey, I'm going my buy list, get that stuff in that store, I'm ordering it, so it really helps you to scale. It's like a funnel, you could say. You're funneling all these leads into here, then, you get the good ones coming out and you're just churning them. So just recently, I think yesterday, I saw a lead there that I hadn't sold in months, and I was like, oh, well, it popped up in my screen here. Let me check on it. And it says some good ROI. Like, yeah, let me order some, So it really helps some of the things that fall through the cracks. And you've forgotten about those leads months ago, and it'll just pull it up right there for you, So I've been liking it.
It's created a great system for those of us who understand the inch deep, mile wide. I'm not going to go super deep and buy 1,000 units of anything. I just
Yeah.
want to know which ASINs are worth taking another 5, 10, 20 unit test with, right?
Yeah.
And here's your list every day. So you can go nice and shallow. Doesn't mean you can't ever go deep, but
Yeah.
you understand as well as anyone, James, the benefit of having a large catalog and having a system that basically says, yep, time to go buy a few more of this one.
Yeah.
Hey, time to
I
turn
have
that
a,
one off. Here's your list every day, right? It really kind of dumbs down, for lack of a better word, the
yeah.
whole process of making decisions about what I'm going to buy, what I'm not going to buy, right?
Yeah. I actually have a rule now to prevent me from, getting too concentrated. So I don't spend more than 5% of my capital on any one ASIN per month.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I don't spend more than 20% of my capital on any one brand. So
Mm-hmm.
with that rule in place, like I can't like get destroyed, because like
Right.
this last Q4, for example, there were people like 80%, 90% Lego, and Lego
Right.
shut a lot of people down, me
Right.
included.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was like, man, I'm glad I'm like barely any Legos, like
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. You weren't too deep. Right.
Yeah,
You can flip them later, whatever. You can hold on. It doesn't hurt as bad to try to figure out
yeah,
what to do with 20 or 30 units as opposed to, 2 or 3,000 units of something,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And there's no reason to go that deep. You just don't have to. You can diversify your risk and you have a lot of
yeah,
incentives to do so. Now, you
yeah,
mentioned that your virtual assistant, you're able to track the process of how well they're doing. So correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you're still sourcing and finding ASINs yourself.
yeah. I'm
You've
doing both. I'm using
got
my
some
VA and
lists,
sourcing.
but then your VA, you're able to say, okay, these are the ASINs that my VA
Hmm.
found. And I know the system has worked into it. You could
Hmm.
have multiple VAs and you can
Yes.
keep them all separate and all they see is their contribution. But then you can go through and run a report. You could actually know, let's say I had 5 VAs. This
Yeah.
one's my top performer. This one's my worst performer. Just the quality of the ASINs they're giving me.
Hmm.
So it sounds like you're able to track and monitor their progress.
Yeah. I just started doing that, because I've been using it for just a little over a month now.
Right.
So whatever what she's contributing is probably larger than what that shows right now, because I haven't put all her old leads in there
Not a lot
as
of history
hers.
yet. Yeah.
And so, but I decided, because I'm doing that, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give her bonuses based on,
Beautiful.
how much profit she's giving me. And
That's
so
right.
she's loving that, and it also gives her more incentive to give me, the best lead she can, so it's
Yeah.
really good.
It is just a button click simple. And it starts to make a lot of sense. Okay, I've got one good VA. Why wouldn't I get another one or even put my first one in charge of hiring and training a second one
Yeah. Yeah.
and bonusing the first one based on the results of the second one, right? It's like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
make it her
Exactly.
monkey that she has to carry, right? Like
Yeah.
this is your problem now. You take it on and I'm going to reward you to the degree. So you can start to see where this scales very nicely
Yes. Yes.
because you've got this good tracking that's it's built in. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Phenomenal. What other observations, if any, are you making, and any feedback too about suggestions at this point? Now that you've been using it, 6 weeks or so, month, 6 weeks.
Oh yeah. Well, for the 3P Mercury, there's a couple of glitches in there right now. I'm sure those will get fixed. For example, if there's something in my restock for inventory and there wasn't a buy list already created, if you try to add it from that page, it just won't do it. But I'm sure those will get fixed out soon. But really, what I really want is a sort feature for highest ROI to lowest. Right now you can filter, but instead of like filtering 50% ROI, then going filter 30, then going filtering 20, I like to just see my like highest ones here on top. I'll go buy all those first, and then if I have money left over, then I'll buy the lower ones. So
Right.
I really would love
that absolutely, I know that's coming, and I'd love to be able to run it for different periods of time as well. Like over the last 6 months, what were my best ASINs? Over the last month, what were my top performing put cash in the bank ASINs on a per unit basis? Which ones are making me the most bang for the buck? Like you said, if I got $1,000 to spend, where should I throw this money? If we can make that a simple decision, that's game changer as well. Although you never know what the future holds, right?
You don't know that we'll
you
still
don't know
high ROI or not.
But you know where your safer bets are as opposed to the less safe bets. So
yeah,
very good. Well, outstanding. Yeah, great feedback, man. Well, what else has happened in your business? How has it changed your lifestyle at all, or has there been any other details of this that you could share with folks to kind of paint a picture of what's it like to integrate this into your family and into your life?
Yeah, I mean, well, I've been doing this full time for a long time. Like I said, like over 7 years or so, 8 years or something. So I mean, it is nice. I still do have a routine with teaching during the semesters, because I've been teaching for about 6 or 7 years as well. But I just teach 2 classes 3 days a week. So I'm there actual, in the classroom 6 hours a week. So it's not like a huge time commitment there. But it's nice, like if I want to go somewhere, I go somewhere, I take the day off, That's that is nice. Now I am, somewhat kind of opposite what a lot of people do. They have a full-time job, they get a successful business, then they, quit that job. Like I'm gonna be starting full-time hopefully next year at the college there,
Yeah, you're passionate about it. You were sharing with me some of your dissertation you're working on. I mean, you love the work you do.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, there's more. Of course, I think everybody hopefully knows this. There's more to life than money. There's certainly things more important, and the money is a tool, and this business does afford me to spend time with my family, which is one of the most important things you can do. But there's also, by teaching, I'm able to really influence the next generation, of people, and I teach at a Christian college, so a lot of the people going through there are like education majors, or pastoral majors, mission majors. So they're going to lead churches and ministries and teaching others, so you can really have a huge impact, and that's something I like to do, it's something that I want to do. So that's why I'm willing to, at least for a time, we'll see if for a few years down the road how it is, but to give up, I guess, complete freedom in order to do that, in order to have that kind of impact.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I totally catch the vision. And, we hear from a lot of people, they want the flexibility and freedom that an e-commerce business brings them so they can fulfill the thing they feel called to. Some people do it so they can buy more toys, right?
Yeah.
Some people do it because they feel called to a bigger mission, purpose, vision, something God's put on their heart. And that to me is a far more compelling reason to go for financial independence and flexibility of schedule, is to fulfill a bigger calling. And I think that's, if we all, kind of prayed about it and thought about it, that's what God ultimately is expecting of us once we achieve that. But I love to see the results that you're getting and what it's allowed you to do, and how it's kind of giving you this nice pace, right? I love to see successful students in our community with a nice pace of life. They're not stressed out and going a million miles an hour in every direction and confused on what's going to come next. No, they've got a nice pace. They got a routine. They got the things that they feel called to, that are meaningful to them, that are doing with intentionality. They got this flexible business over here that's scaling and they're tweaking. It's a beautiful way to do life, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been a good journey, and I've enjoyed it. It's like, and I think about sometimes, like, why would I ever retire? Like I'm basically living the retired life already, it's like,
Man, I had the same thought last night. I had someone ask me, when are you going to retire? And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I've been retired for about 20 years based on the definition that you're using.
Yeah. It's like, well, I can do what I want, when I want, it's like, I don't know what else, and I actually enjoy sourcing, I'm weird, but
yeah. And all the other doors, something else too, James, that you haven't explored a whole lot. I know you're comfortable teaching and leading and that sort of thing because you are a professor. But this whole e-commerce thing that you're building, this machine over here, it's opened up doors you can walk through anytime you want, a host of doors that lead to more teaching and, educating others, or helping brands, doing some consulting, traveling and doing other things that maybe make more sense in your life here a couple of years from now versus now. And have you ever heard the Hebrew take on the word retirement? Have you ever heard me talk about that by any chance, or are you aware of?
Well, I remember reading, I think Daniel Lappin's book about it, and he said there's no Hebrew word for it, so it doesn't exist.
It's a nonsensical concept that doesn't exist in Hebrew, right? We go from using our physical bodies to using our mind more to serve others, but there's no point in time, if you're smart, there's no point in time in your life where you go, okay, everybody, I'm done being of use to you.
Yeah.
My life is now all about me, because it's a death sentence, man. It's like it's a formula for misery, ultimately, right?
A lot of people that retire, they a couple months later, they go right back to work. They can't.
Yeah, they're going nuts.
I
Yeah.
was sourcing like a year ago in a local store, and met a guy there, and he was a clerk, and he's got talking to him, and he's like, well, actually, I'm a retired physician. I'm like, oh, really? He's a doctor. And I was like, okay, what are you doing here? He's like, I just needed something to do. I couldn't stand being at home all the time. I couldn't
That's
do it.
right. It's built into us, and the Word of God spells it right out. In the first book of the Bible, we're not created to be alone.
Yeah.
Man, and that wasn't just talking about Adam needing Eve, Eve needing Adam. It was talking about none of us are built for the isolation of making our life about just ourselves.
Yeah.
It's actually psychological conditions that begin to form. And some of the most dangerous psychological disorders you can get come from isolation.
Yeah.
And we do it to ourselves. And we think retirement's going to be all about me, finally enjoy it. No, dude, you better be making it about others in some way, or you're going to get miserable fast. And so having that business that can kind of morph and change over time. And like you said, you enjoy sourcing. Yeah, keep doing it. But at some point, this business is going to lead to other open doors, other opportunities to train, to educate, to consult, that sort of thing. Right.
Yeah.
And there's just so many doors that are open to you now at the level you're achieving. What are your goals for 2025? Or, a little over a month in, what are you hoping
Yeah.
to hit for the year?
Yeah. So I want to do at least 100,000 sales per month. So that'd be what, like 1.2 million sales ish or something around there. So that's what I want to do. I remember like several years ago hearing about, like, I think is it Leah that was on that had the technical arbitrage training and all that.
Yeah,
And
right. Yeah.
she was doing 100,000 a month. I'm like, wow, that's magical. That'd be insane. I don't know if I could ever do that, And
Yeah.
here I am, like, on the cusp. Like, I was almost got there in December,
Right.
So but if I could get that consistent every month, that would be really nice.
Yeah.
And that's a level. I think that's a level. If I reach that level, I want to then focus branching out on more things. So I started selling at Walmart maybe a couple months ago.
I was going to ask about that.
Want to really focus on scaling that, if I hit a good level there, then I can automate some things and take some things off my plate, maybe just stop. I'll just leave all the sources to my VA, for example, or something, if I can, if that's it's not in my, it's like in my blood is sourcing, like, I don't know.
Right. It's going to be hard to turn it off at some point, but because it's so much part of your routine, but you can have a much bigger business. It's almost like the less work I do, the more money I make.
Yeah.
Is that little,
and so
calling?
I mean, that's my short-term goal. Now, I did read a book recently called 10X is Easier Than 2X. A great book, highly recommended if anybody wants to grow their business. But basically, to go 10 times is easier than 2 times, because if you go 2 times, you're just doing more of the same. If you go 10 times, it's a whole mental shift.
It's a systems required shift. Business. Yes, right. I love it.
And so at the time I read it, I was doing like 50,000 sales. I'm like, okay, I guess my goal needs to be 500,000 sales per month, And it's certainly possible. There's people doing millions per month,
Of course.
But that's just required some more outsourcing, maybe some more VAs. I do want to try to outsource some of the, like say you get an IP complaint. I don't want to deal with that. I want someone else to deal with that and fix it for me, or say a customer emails me about something. Well, I want someone answering those emails. So I want to outsource that. I did hear a while ago about something about like proven account management, but I don't know if that fell through the cracks or something a few years ago. But I remember hearing something about that. I don't know if that's still going on.
Yeah, we're actually still developing that out. We test things and try to break them before we roll them out as best we can. And so that's something that's still in the works. But yeah, where you'd have VAs. I mean, and you can replicate that. The system kind of starts to do that as well, where you can have VAs who have restricted access and they monitor different aspects of your account. So yeah, there's this. It can be. The good news is that this can be fully automated. To cut right to the chase. I mean, that's what Kang, the developer of the system, was able to do. His only obligation for his business was to decide how much money he's going to put in each month for inventory based on what was already being spent. Did he want to add any more or not? And then checking his stats to see how his business is doing. And that was a $3 million business, right? So that's certainly possible and doable with the software. And it's just a matter of scaling up to that point, putting other people in charge of those processes, like you said.
Yeah, I think what would be great is maybe if they would have a training on, how to have VAs buy your inventory or some kind of module like that. Because that's another thing that's a significant time suck, you could say, is rebuying your replens.
Yes.
If I could have someone do that, that would really lighten my load. But with the logistics of I'm buying from 50 different stores or whatever, maybe not that many, but whatever, 30 stores, and then I have a password for each one of those, and then
right.
I need to give them a credit card, all this stuff. It's very difficult.
Absolutely. Well, finding a VA you trust and giving them your credit card. Many people have done that. And, the first time you see a fraudulent charge, you shut it down, fire them, and tell the credit card company that wasn't a rogue employee, right? And so you get your money back. But so you do monitor the process, but it's not really a big risk to do those kinds of things. And then one of my favorite tools is just any kind of screen capture, like Loom, making a Loom video of me doing what it is I want them to do. And they can reference back to that if they need more training. But it's yours now. Here's the Loom video. Let me know if you have questions. Right? So it's really not as big of a leap in reality as some people kind of make it to be. The VAs you have now, give them some extra responsibilities. If they're taking on too much, put them in charge of training someone else on some of those tasks and reward them for it. The beautiful thing about Filipino virtual assistants is, $1 raise an hour is huge. It spends like a lot more money. It spends like 8 times. It's like giving someone an $8 to $10 hour raise here, right? Like that gets their attention.
Yeah, and
more responsibility.
The bonus I gave her because of her performance, that's like a week's pay, over there. So it was, she's really liking that.
An extra $100 is just like miraculous level money for them, and which is what makes it such a delight to be able to leverage and add to your team in the Philippines, because you're potentially generationally impacting families. $200 a month. It's incredible what can be done, how far the money goes there, and how much they value the US dollar there, and how hard they'll work. So you start to leverage that. Like, how can I leverage this underused resource of these people who are ready and willing to work hard for $2, $3, $5 an hour? It's like they'll work hard for that, and it'll spend like 8 to 10 times more than that. You got to leverage that. So when I hear you saying like, it'd be nice to have someone like, just need to train them yourself, and there'll be modules coming, training modules are coming, and they exist already. But, if it's a process that you're already doing yourself, I would encourage you, James, just capture the recording of you doing it. Document it. And that way, if the VA moves on or has to train someone else, it's right there documented. Just a matter
what I'll do is I'll start with one store. You buy stuff from this one store, make a video for that one store, and then I can build on that if she's successful with one.
Yeah, exactly. And before you know it, she'll be better, faster, cheaper than you ever were, and it's just another one of your automated systems. I encourage people as they're growing, always be asking, "Am I the only person that could be doing this right now?" Right? And if not, you're going to give up a little bit of margin, a little bit of your profit to automate it and hand it off to someone else. And then you're just monitoring that system, and that allows you to scale, like you said.
And that's something that book did help me with. The 10X is easier than 2X, because there was stuff I was doing, because I was still shipping maybe once every couple of weeks from here. So after reading that book, I'm like, not worth my time for, I can make more money by not doing that. So I pretty much completely stopped sourcing, locally, basically, though it's hard. So I walk back past shelves and be like, there's money there, but it's costing me more money to buy that and ship it than it would be just go home and find something to sell online,
Yes,
so,
that's good. That's good. Now, I don't know how the book drives that point home, but I teach a similar concept where you've got to know what you're worth per hour.
Yeah.
What are you worth per hour? And it's easy to do the math. I mean, look at what your take home was last year and divide it by the number of hours you worked, right?
Yeah.
That's what you're, quote, worth per hour.
Yeah.
Right. So any task that pulls you away, assuming another hour worked gets you that much money, like for your, there's several business building warriors in our community, $200 or $300 an hour is not uncommon. Like, and so every extra hour I work, that's $200 or $300 more bucks in my pocket, ultimately. So the question's like, should I cut my own grass or should I pay the neighborhood kid $25 to do it?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Like those questions start to make a lot of sense. Well, it's actually, I'm not saving myself $25 to cut my own grass. costing myself $275 to cut my own grass, right? You start processing life that way, it makes a lot more sense. So you can specialize, focus on what you're good at, and scale, pay others to do the stuff that's, less per hour than your time.
But I tell my wife, hey, why are you going to the grocery store and shopping? Just order online, just to do so, it'll save you time, money, gas, everything,
Did you see the letter to the editor that Jeff Bezos wrote in 2020 by any chance? You ever heard me reference it? It's one of my favorite, not letter to, I say letter to the editor. I meant letters to the investors. That's what I'm trying to say. He wrote a letter to all the investors in Amazon, and he spelled out how much time Amazon had saved the shoppers on their site, assuming that the average person's time was only worth $10 per hour, which is a ridiculously low number, obviously. But assuming the average American's time is worth $10 per hour, Amazon saved, it was like $130 billion or something, like crazy, in just time saved. Not fuel saved, not wear and tear on the car, just pure time saved by what you just said. Shopping online instead of getting in the car, going to the store, walking the aisles, finding what you need, coming back home. Like, how much time would it have taken? Instead of clicking a few buttons on your phone, you spent 3 hours, right? So he just did the math. $120 billion. And that was just one of the aspects of how Amazon is positively impacted. And people are willing to pay for that convenience. And that's a lot of where our margin comes from as sellers, right? Is the convenience people are willing to pay.
Yeah, so I've used that above the buy box strategy to good effect. It's really
fill me in. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so on the faster moving stuff, I'll place my price above the buy box, still sell. If it, even if something's a low ROI at the buy box, like, well, I'll still test it if it's fast mover, and usually, 7 times out of 10, I'll make some good sales up higher here.
I love to hear that. Yeah. So how many of your ASINs would you say you've done that with? I mean, how big of a sample size of testing this theory have you done?
I can't check the exact number.
Yeah.
But it's been a couple dozen, maybe a few dozen, not a lot.
But you're seeing consistent results. So and I don't know how I describe it. I describe it all the time, the above buy box theory and how it works. But talk me through, assuming I don't know what you're talking about. What do you just say? Like, what are you doing? How do you know to go ahead and just price something way above buy box when you first see it? Like, what are the indicators you're looking for?
Yeah, so there's a few things. If there's low competition, so a low number of FBA sellers, that's a good sign. So like everyone's number is different, depends on the velocity too, but 10 or less, is pretty good. Then it's a fast mover. They're selling, usually I like at least 50 times per month, sales of an item. To give you a little more confidence that it's going to sell at a higher price there. And then I'll just test it. If it doesn't sell in 3 or 4 weeks or something like that, then I'll just lower the price a little bit and see if it sells at that price. If not, a couple of weeks after that, well, I'll just go back to the buy box, flip my money and use that for something better,
Get your money back. Yeah. So the only parameter you got to keep in mind is you want to make sure that buy box, typical recent buy box, represents approximate break even for you. So you're not putting your capital at risk. You're just putting it out there, hoping it does well. If it doesn't, I get my money back. That's the above buy box theory, is it allows you to test so many more ASINs. Have you heard, it's my recent favorite example. Have you heard the story about the guy that sold 2,400 units with that strategy?
Yeah, with the Crayola crayons, right?
Yes, the crayons. Yes. Yeah, he was the highest priced seller among 200 sellers.
Yeah.
And sold 2,400 units in a couple of weeks. And that's the evidence. And there's so many other great examples, but that's one of my favorite ones. It's just kind of a mind-blowing example. It's like, how do you sell anything as the highest priced seller with 200 competitors? Well, because there weren't enough FBA sellers on the ASIN. Everyone was selling it out of their garage, merchant fulfill. And he was one of a few FBA sellers. Highest price, flew off the shelf in just a few weeks, 2,400 units. You're right.
Yeah. And this works even if Amazon's the seller, if Amazon's on the listing, it still works. You think they would have domination on every buy box everywhere, but no, I sell stuff a lot just pricing above Amazon.
Yeah. I mean, did you see the video I made and put in the Facebook group just yesterday? The new feature in Smart Scout that shows the map of the United States.
Oh, I did not see that. No.
Okay, you'll have to go check it out. I'll stick a link to it in the show notes, but I'll talk you through it, James. You're going to enjoy this, and I think the listeners will benefit too. So we've always had this theory and overwhelming evidence that we're right but no proof that we were right, that the buy box is wildly different from zip code to zip code across the United States, right?
Yeah.
Now, we've seen little tidbits of evidence here and there, and you can hop on with a friend who lives 8 states away and do this yourself and pull up an ASIN like, what's the price in your city? Oh, wow, this guy's winning the buy box here, but a different dude's winning the buy box over there. So we've known that it's pretty spread out, which creates huge incentives to ignore the buy box. That's the point. Like that single data point of buy box represents one zip code at one point in time. If you build your whole business around that one random buy box point in one random zip code that shows on Keepa or whatever tool you're using, you've got a limited view of the possibilities of that ASIN and where you could be pricing. But anyway, this map, Smart Scout has it. silentjimdotcom/SS is our link to Smart Scout. If anyone wants to go check it out themselves. But I made a video, stuck it in the Facebook group. I'll put a link in the show notes. But it shows a map of the United States, and you can type any ASIN you want in, and it will show you state by state who's winning the buy box based on color code. And I'm finding ASINs that have 12, 15, 20 different buy boxes in different states, different color codes. And the cool thing that I'm enjoying playing with too is a lot of the states will have, even on very popular ASINs, it'll show the fastest delivery time based on who's winning the buy box currently. So if it'll have like a number 8, that means the guy winning the buy box for Montana for this ASIN, if you take that seller's offer and you buy that product, it's going to take 8 days to get to you as a shopper. So Montana has an 8 on it, right? And over here in Indiana, I got a 3 on it, because if I took the buy box offer as a shopper here in Indiana, if I didn't scan the other sellers, I just said, okay, the guy that's winning the buy box, I'm taking his offer. How long would it take to get here? So they're grabbing that data one ASIN at a time. I don't think they've created a database of all this data, but one ASIN at a time, you can see it visually represented. But the cool thing is, it's blowing my mind, is among many other things right now on this particular feature, is for the first time, we have undeniable evidence that that buy box is all over the place.
Yeah.
You know, let's say, well, the buy box is $20 on this ASIN. No, it's not. It's $20 for one point in time at one zip code at one place. You look at it on the map, it could be $18 here and $42 there, right? If you're making pricing decisions based on what's the buy box, oh, you're missing out on the whole perspective of possibilities. So test high is the lesson. That's the practical lesson. If you're not testing high on fast moving ASINs, you're losing out on so much money. That's the lesson. And I'm so glad to hear you're doing it, and glad to hear it's working. You said about 7 out of 10 times you're getting sales.
Right? It depends how fast you want the sale, how fast the item's moving, Right. A lot of factors to take into consideration. But usually, again, I'm only testing it if it's fast moving and if it's break even at the buy box over the last year, so I'll test it. It's kind of my rule.
Yeah. So you're not putting your capital at risk. How many of your ASINs do you lose money on, would you say?
Recently, it's barely any, just because I'm very picky about what I buy now. Again, with the 2 week of the VA, my rule is over the last year, it has to be break even at the lowest buy box, right, or lowest FBA price over the last year. So with that, it's very rare I lose money. Every once in a while, but it's just not very common. So you've got your risk tolerance turned way down, and you're still finding plenty of inventory. How many new ASINs are you finding per week between you and your VA, would you say? My VA sends me, 20 a week, and not all of them are winners. So some I'll buy right away, some I'll add to the buy list, some I'll reject for one reason or another. So maybe of adding the buy list / buying right away, it might be, 12 of those or something like that, a little over half, maybe 15. And then my own, just depends how much I'm sourcing that week, but I can easily find a couple an hour if I'm working at it, But right now, it's just keep up with my VA's list and then rebuying all the other stuff. It's getting where like most of my time is just rebuying, because I'm not doing as much sourcing as I was earlier.
Which is, as you mentioned earlier, the most valuable use of your time. So I really think you need to get some shopping videos rocking. And I would start with whatever website you spend the most time doing your shopping on.
Yeah.
Train your VA to do that. And if they can get that one down, the rest are going to be a breeze and fall in line pretty quickly. And that's going to free up your time then to be just sourcing. And then pretty soon you'll have them sourcing every bit as good, if not better than you ever did.
Yeah.
That'd be my advice to continue scaling. That's going to get you over 100,000 real fast with you doing less work.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it.
So yeah, that'll be good.
Yeah. Very
and
good.
eventually just want it where, I'm not clicking a thing, I'm just watching everybody else, kind of managing everybody and making sure they're
monitoring. There's always going to be a little something pop up, a hard decision to make here or there.
Yeah.
I'm getting a text. I apologize. Send some real quick. Okay, there we're good. But well, anything else you were wanting to cover today? Anything else going on? I think we covered a good variety of topics and some good encouragement. Everyone from new people to experienced sellers. But anything else on your mind today that we could hit?
Yeah. So I did. Me and a couple friend and a friend, we started a mastermind group several months ago, and that's also helped. So we had to start it where we had 4 people in there, and that's really helped all of us grow. We've all grown because I implemented a share lead, like kind of Google Sheets thing, where each of us have a sheet with each other. And so you post a lead, then that person posts a lead, then you can post another one. And same over here with this person, So you're not waiting on any one person to add leads, but you can go as fast as you want sharing with each other. So that helps get more leads in the system, get more leads in there.
Yeah, I love how we can cooperate. We can cooperatively kind of compete in the same space and play, because any ASIN worth being on is worth having a few more people on. They're going to find, split some of the sales, right?
And one of my members, he just told me the other day, he's like, by sharing these leads, I haven't noticed any hit to my sales at all. Like there's been no effect on having like 3 or 4 more people on it.
Nope, you're exactly right. Which is even more evidence how many underserved ASINs there are out there. How many people are saying, "Oh man, I wish I could get this today on Amazon, but it looks like I'd have to wait 3 or 4 days because there's no FBA seller close enough to me." There may be 8 FBA sellers already on it with a handful of units, but there's none near the shop or their warehouse near their house. So they end up going to Walmart, or they end up paying way less than they were willing to for stuff that's going to arrive way later.
Right.
So a high-priced FBA seller could have hopped on that ASIN and had a sale that day, but they're not there. Underserved shelf space.
Right.
It's so abundant at Amazon.
So sometimes I'm surprised at how high I sell stuff. Like Amazon's 50 and I sell it for 70. I'm like, how's that even possible? I don't know.
Yeah.
But it happens.
Even if it's Amazon, because just because Amazon's on an ASIN doesn't mean they bought 50,000 units.
Yeah.
They could have, 5 units in LA and 2 units in Chicago, and that's it. They're on the ASIN. They got 7 units. So some guy in Tampa, where your unit is in a warehouse sitting right next door, is shopping for that item. His choice is pay 50, like you said, and get it from Amazon 3 days from now, or pay 70 and get it from Amazon FBA Prime Now, right now. He's like, you know what? I'll pay the extra $20. That's why you're winning the sale over Amazon, because Amazon isn't one central warehouse where everyone goes to save money and price sensitively shop. It's hundreds of warehouses where people say, can I get it fast? Am I willing to pay a little more to get it fast? Millions of people shop all day. That's why you're winning those sales, right? That only makes sense.
Yeah.
Why else would someone pay more?
Right. they want it faster. That's all I can think of. Yeah. And but that mastermind group's been well. I mean, we're certainly open to a few more members too. It's not for complete beginners, but if you're doing like 5 or 10,000 sales per month or something like that, and you got a little experience, we'd certainly welcome a few more in our group.
Well, I'd caution you, be very picky who you let in the door, because you're probably going to get a good handful of people reaching out going, hey, I'll do that. Be picky.
Well, again, it's you're going to get what you contribute, because
right.
If you share leads, you get leads back, You don't do anything, well, you don't get any leads. It's just
you don't get anything.
Kind of how it goes.
Great setup. That's a great setup. Yeah, we should have you do a session on how you set that up sometime, or do some training for us as a module.
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, it sounds like a pretty simple spreadsheet setup, but if you're not contributing, you don't get anything. If you do, you get what you put in. I love it. You have to show us how you set that up sometime and share that with the group. But Well, James, I got to wrap up. I got another call coming
Yeah, no
down on me here
problem.
pretty
No
fast,
problem.
man. And but it's been a true pleasure hanging out with you. You planning to come to Orlando? I don't remember what you said.
Yeah, I am planning on coming.
Good,
Yes.
good. Okay, so we'll see you at the Proven Conference, right, in
Yeah.
May. I'll stick a link to that in the show notes for those who don't know what we're talking about. But yeah, it's been great hanging out with you today, my friend. God bless you, buddy.
Yeah. Thanks so much. Good to
Thanks,
see you
James.
again.
Good to see you too, my friend. I'll see you here in a couple months. But for the listeners who hung out with James and I today, if you enjoyed this, got some benefit from it, I've got some really good news for you. We've got dozens of recent episodes like this with successful members of our community who have built beautiful businesses, sharing the insights, the tips, the challenges, what's going on in their business. Hopefully, this has been a time of motivation and encouragement for you. And if it is, keep listening. Scroll back in time. We've got almost 1,000 episodes. Hundreds of them are interviews like this, and you're going to be, I think, blessed by those. But on behalf of the team that puts these episodes together, just want to say, keep listening, keep hanging out, keep being the best part of our show, and we'll have more episodes for you very soon. One last shout out, James. Thank you, buddy. You were awesome today.
Thank you.
Thank you,
All
sir.
right.
We'll have more good episodes for you very soon. We'll talk to you then. Hey, thanks for joining us for today's episode. I hope you got a lot of good information. But before I let you go, hang out with me a couple more minutes with my good friend, Kang Dang. He's the creator of 3P Mercury software. You can find out more about it at silentjimdotcom/the system. Kang, what do you got for us today?
Yeah, today I just want to share one of the unique features of 3P Mercury and giving you guys an update of some of the feedback that we're getting from our users. One of the things that we built into the system is an advanced filtering function where you can do really a lot of things with these filters. For instance, we have a filter where you can just click a few filters and say, show me all of my ASINs that haven't sold in the last 30 days. And it really is effective in helping you manage your stale inventory, which is one of the challenges of this business is making sure that you have adequate cash flow to continue to buy products that are successful. And not all of the things that you buy are going to be winners. So being able to have a system that can identify products that are not performing well is really important, and to be able to do that quickly is the key. Another use of filtering is replenishment. We had one user report, and this user was pretty unique. And which I when I signed on, I had a meeting with her, and I saw that she had nearly 18,000 ASINs. I mean, it's hard to find a user that beats me, but she had over 18,000 ASINs that she replenishes through, and she would dread Replens day because it would take her basically all day. She said it would take me several hours just to sort through all of my ASINs to see, which ones are replenishable. And when she say all, I'm pretty sure that's not even all. You can't go even through 18,000 ASINs in a day. But it would take her several hours. And now she's telling me that it only takes her less than an hour to go through her ASINs, because with our filtering method, you're not having to manually look at, all those thousands of ASINs. It just pulls out what you need, what you need to pay attention to. So with a user that big, trimming down hours of at a time, you can imagine how much, more effective she can run her business. And that's how I run my business, how I'm able to run through, my 10,000 ASINs and keeping my work, my staff down to, just a couple of people. And, with our business, the less people you have to hire, the higher your net profit is. More money to invest in products and advance your business further instead of spending money on overhead.
Yeah, it's a beautiful system you've built. You described it beautifully, and I hadn't heard the story about the lady with 18,000 ASINs. That's pretty incredible. Because sometimes our newer students, especially, get intimidated and say, "Okay, I've got 20 or 30 ASINs, and I'm keeping track of those." But when they get to 50 and 100, now they're getting real nervous. Like, how do I keep track of all these? Yeah, you very quickly learn in this business that finding great ASINs that you can send inventory in profitably, that's not the hard part. It's managing the workflow of the system. After you get all those ASINs, how many more should I buy? Which ones have been sitting there too long? Which ones should I get out of? Which ones should I go deeper on? The workflow system you built answers all those questions in automated fashion and reduces it down. That's beautifully. You said from a multiple hour all day process down to less than an hour for 18,000 ASINs. That's great evidence right there of what this system is capable of. Yeah, silentjim.com/the system. Go get more information about completely automating the workflow of your Amazon selling business. Yeah, anything else for us, Kang, before I let you go?
No, I'm just excited to see all these users report back of how they're using the system and how it's changing their business. So I'll look forward to sharing more testimonials with you guys in the future episodes.
Yeah, we'll get you back each week, man, for a short update, and you're going to start hearing more and more. If you're a fan or a listener to this show, you've already heard a good number of people mentioning the system as part of their business model. You're going to hear a lot more about the system, or 3P Mercury. You can call it either around here. Again, that website, silentjim.com/the system. Go get more information. Completely automate the workflow of your Amazon business starting right now. Setup is easy. Let's get it going. All right, Kang, good to talk to you, my friend. We'll do this again next week, okay?
Thanks.
Talk to you soon.